guys. So welcome to my little personal office. That's why some of these videos are going to be in the classroom when I have access to an empty classroom, and some of them you might see here. So here it is. There's a bookshelf on that side of me and calendars on that side. But the important thing is that I have a whiteboard stuck to my wall, so we can get one of the videos done while we're in this room. Okay, so for this one, let's talk about the difference between improper fractions and mixed fractions. So we had mentioned these a couple times. So this board is a little smaller than in the other videos, so I'm going to have to do a little bit more erasing. But an improper fraction, and if you already watched the adding fractions video before this one, there's some improper fractions at the end of it that we change into mixed ones. So an improper fraction, if you remember from the initial video, is when our numerator is bigger and our denominator is smaller. So an example of this would be 8/3. So we also went over the definition of what a mixed fraction is. So the mixed fraction if you remember, is when we have a whole number combined with a normal fraction that cannot be reduced anymore. So this is our whole number, and here's our proper fraction, we called it in a previous video. And again, remember, your fractions, you're going to put these in the lowest terms possible. But there are things that we need to do to be able to flip between a mixed fraction and an improper fraction and vice versa. Anytime that we're going to be adding, subtracting, multiplying, or dividing fractions, anything that is in, let's say your answer ends in an improper fraction, like it did at the end of the adding video, you cannot leave it that way. It has to go into its mixed fraction form. If you start a problem with mixed fractions, the easiest way to work the problem, so that this way you don't run into any potential problems with borrowing and things like that, is to immediately change the mixed fraction to an improper. So let's start there. So this is mixed to improper. They are easier to work with. And again, you reduce your risk of error when you're looking at especially multiplying and dividing fractions, which is going to be in another video, when you change your mixed number to an improper. So let's work with that same one that I just had on the board a minute ago. So 1 2/5. So here's the steps, and then I'm going to show you how to do it. So the first step is multiply your denominator by your whole number. Your second step is add that answer to your numerator. And then what you're going to do is you're going to put that answer over whatever your current denominator is. So I'm obviously, for space-wise, I'm abbreviating denominator and numerator, but you know what those words mean from the video that we already did. Okay, so let's go through this. So what I'm saying is we're going to leave the denominator the same. So I'm just going to work this out down here. So we're going to leave the denominator the same. And remember, the number on top is going to end up bigger because we're turning it into an improper fraction. So if this helps, I put a little multiplication sign here when people first start. And then I do a little addition sign here when people first start. So let me see if I could zoom this in so that you could see this just a little bit better. So I have the multiplication sign down between the 5 and the 1, right here. This is a multiply. And then I have the addition sign right here, because you're going to do 5 times 1 plus 2. That's how you get your new top number. Your bottom number is going to stay the same. So here are those steps again, just a little zoomed in, that I just walked you through. You're going to multiply your denominator by your whole number. Step 2 is add the answer to the numerator, and then put that over the current denominator. So I'm just going to zoom out again. But hey, this is a video, so you can pause me, you can rewind it if you need to. So now let's do the math, if you haven't already skipped ahead of me. So 5 times 1 is 5. So that answer, plus 2, is 7. So that is our new top number. So the improper fraction, that is the same exact thing as 1 2/5, is going to be 7/5. So we're going to need to know this when we're working, again, with the multiplication and especially the division videos that are going to be coming up in this lesson. Okay, so let's practice another one. So 2 4/8 is our fraction. So if you still need to draw your little symbols, we're going to do a multiplication sign here, and we're going to do an addition sign between the whole number and the numerator. We're going to bring our current denominator down. It's going to stay as the same denominator. Okay? So 8 times 2 is 16. 16 plus 4 is 20. Okay? All right, so all I'm going to do right now is I'm going to take this and slide it up a little bit, because now I want to show you how to get this back to this. And that's going to be switching our improper to our mixed. And again, if you already watched the addition video, we did this a little bit. We did this twice at the end. I'm actually going to erase this so I can give you your steps. So here's your steps. The first step is, sorry, I don't want to write this like a textbook would. So you want to see how many times the denominator fits into the numerator. This is going to equal your whole number. So, I mean, when you're dealing with math, there's two parts of math. It's, are you getting the steps right, or are you getting the math right? So that's why I always like to start with notes and start with steps. So this way you can follow the steps and say, well, I did the steps right. Maybe I just did the multiplication, the division, the addition, or the subtraction wrong. So you're going to see how many times the denominator fits into the numerator or divides evenly into the numerator, and then that's going to equal your whole number. Your current denominator is just going to slide right over. So that part's kind of the nice part because it's easier. Okay, so then we want to take your denominator times your whole number then whatever that answer is, subtract it from your numerator. When you do this, this is going to be your leftover. This is going to give you your new numerator. So I'm going to zoom in on those for you. And then, of course, the very final step that I did not write in is that if you can reduce the fraction at all, you have to. Because remember from the very first video about, or the second video about reducing, we always have to put everything in its absolute lowest terms all the time. Okay, so let's try this. And you got this. I have faith in you, though I have never seen you. But you can do this. We got practice problems coming, and I'll walk you through the practice problems. So we had that, now I don't even remember what it was, but we'll do this one instead. We'll do 20 over 8. I remember 20 was our numerator, and I honestly don't remember our denominator at this point. Sorry. So, our first step is to find out what the whole number is. So to do that, we need to see how many times 8 can fit into 20 without going over. So here's where our multiplication comes in. 8 times 1 is 8, so that could work. 8, but can we go bigger? 8 times 2 is 16, so that could work, but can we go bigger? 8 times 3 is 24. So that's too big because it's bigger than 20. So 2 is where we're going to stop. So that's going to be our whole number. Now, in our other step, all we're going to do is slide this over. 8 was my denominator from before. Took me a minute. Okay, so now what we want to do is if 8 times 2 equals 16, when we subtract that from the 20, how many are left? That's going to become our numerator, or our leftover, that I can't fit here, so I'm going to write it in 2 lines. So, 8 times 2 is 16. Subtract that from 20 is 4. So 4 is what is left over. So if you rewind this video, and when we started with mixed to improper, this was the mixed fraction that I gave you. But are we finished yet? I'm just going to write down a line because I'm out of room, and I don't want to write all over my bookshelf. So what you want to look at next is if this part of the fraction can be reduced, simplified, put in its lowest terms, blah, blah, blah. Can that be reduced at all? So remember, when we reduce, we're trying to pick one number that's going to evenly divide into the top, and that same number is going to divide evenly into the bottom. When you're playing around with mixed fractions, the whole number is just going to carry over. And you always want to make sure that you carry the whole number over with each step, because a lot of the times if you don't, and you just focus on the fraction, what happens is you'll end up reducing the fraction and then forgetting that the whole number was ever even there because you already went through so many steps. So this can be reduced. Let's do what we've been doing in the reducing video, and let's reduce this by 2. So that would mean 2 divided by 2, 4 divided by 2, and 8 divided by 2, which would give us 2/4. This can still go lower because we can divide by 2 again. So this is going to end up being 2 1/2, and that will be our final answer. Now, for some of you, you might not have taken this middle step, and you might have recognized that you could divide by 4, and you might have jumped right to the 2 1/2, and if you did, awesome job, way to go. So, let's do another one. It's usually going from the improper to the mixed where people have a little bit more trouble. The mixed to the improper usually isn't as scary or as tough. So let's do a little bit of an easier one. 21/7. So our first step is we want to see how many times 7 can go into 21. 7 times 1 is 7. 7 times 2 is 14. 7 times 3 is 21. All right, we got a whole number. But do we have anything left over? Since 7 goes into 21 evenly and we don't have anything left over, then we're only left with the whole number. We don't end up with that extra fraction that we had in the previous problem. That's why I wanted to do this one for you. But with a simple change of the denominator, now this is going to be a little bit of a different problem. Okay, so let's do the same steps. 6, how many times does 6 go into 21 without going over? 6 times 1 is 6. 6 times 2 is 12. 6 times 3 is 18. 6 times 4 is 24. Oh, no, we went over, so we got to back up. So 3 is going to be our whole number. And then we're just going to slide our denominator over. So we're only missing one number. For a lot of people, it makes them feel great when they just slide this over, because then it's like you're like 2/3 of the way done to use a fraction in a fraction video. Okay, so 3 times 6 is 18. What is 18 minus 21? So it's okay if you need your fingers. 19, 20, 21. Yes, it's 3. So 3 and 3/6 would be our mixed fraction. But are we finished? So you always want to look at this part to see if that can be reduced at all. You don't look at the whole number because the whole number is not going to change at this point. So I'm just going to write this down here. Hopefully you're already a step ahead of me. And 3 and 3/6 is going to reduce into 3½ if I divide by 3. 2 won't work because 2 won't divide evenly into 3, but 3 divides evenly into 3 and 3 divides evenly into 6. So our answer is going to be 3½ And you can check your work. So let's go back up here and let's flip it back into an improper. So remember, we're going to multiply our denominator by our whole number and then add the top. So 6 times 3 is 18, plus 3 is 21, over 6. Now, here's the weird part though. We reduced this fraction to 3½ When we try and flip this back into an improper fraction, we're going to get a different answer. We're going to end up getting 7/2. Whoa. Well, here's the thing. If we take 21/6 and we reduce this, we eventually end up getting 7/2, and that's as far as it can go. So 21 over 6. If we use the multiple of 3, 21 divided by 3 is 7. 6 divided by 3 is 2. And there's how you get that connection. So sometimes the question you might have is, well, then if I have this as my improper, can I reduce it first and then turn it into the mixed fraction or the whole number? You're better off not doing that. Keep it whatever the answer is or whatever the problem gives you. Put it into its mixed version and then reduce it just the way that we've been doing. I just wanted to show you why this improper fraction would be different than this improper fraction, and it's only because they actually do equal the same thing. One number is just a little bit bigger. Okay? So, you have practice problems to work on, of course, and I will be with you through the video, talking you through them. If you have any issues, make sure that you look at the supplements that I have posted for you, look at the previous videos, and we're going to talk about multiplying and dividing fractions in our last video for this section. Alright, so I'll see you in the next one. Bye.